size of that is the surface area. So as waves come through, that's much more impactful on your structure. So the offshore oil rigs, they actually hire in commercial divers to harvest those.
We have the 500 stand behind us, but only 3 remnants. Have to be here, and it's like
These two faces, yeah, you're gonna have face to face.
yeah, I'd say generally speaking.
Why is this side here? This side is here because in '97 when the first, so just like this, right? The PCH was here. So when
So like, there's these 4 watersheds that were burned, right? And they were burned in like this mosaic pattern, right? So some of the streams were burned and some weren't, right? And so the idea behind this project is that a bunch of heavy metals were volatilized into the air and they got moved around and then got into the water and all that kind of stuff. And what happened was it affected the development of the young of the year steelhead, which are the steelhead that were born, immediately following the wildfires. And then what we think is that olfaction's super important to steelhead because they use their olfactory system, like their sense of smell, to imprint on their natal home streams, right? And that's how they're able to like be anadromous, like they're born in the freshwater, they go on out to the ocean, they live there for a couple of years, and they come back. And they come back like to that exact same spot where they were born, right? Like where they were eggs and they were developed and all that kind of stuff. But they're running into all different, climate change is like causing all different kinds of problems. Like we've already seen that increased CO2 in the water, increased acidity, it decreases their ability to find their natal home streams. And so we think that wildfires is just like one other aspect that's going to be detrimental to their ability to get back to these places. And so going back to what's happening with their development, we think that something with the heavy metals is impacting their olfaction development, and it's going to make it so that they can't get back to. Well, number one, it's going to impact how they respond to predators, and it's going to impact how they get back home. So what we're doing is this kind of like predator response, paired watershed predator response study, where what we've done is we got a bunch of steelhead and we skinned them and we ground up all their skin and then we filtered it and we made these like olfactory cues, and then we're going and we're electrofishing in these streams. And we're catching these steelhead, and then what we got were these, they're in that truck right now. I'll get them out in a little bit, and you guys can see them. They're called Y mazes, and essentially what they are like choice mazes. They're like these boxes that have 2 arms in them and a holding pen for the fish. They get it, and then there's water flowing through them from the stream. We pump water up from the stream into these boxes, and they're flowing through these boxes. And then in one arm is just DI water is being introduced to it, and then in the other arm we introduce this ground up skin extract. And the idea is that so this is a burned watershed, right? Like I'm sure you guys talked about that on the way up, but like you can see there was all kinds of burned stuff in there, and you'll see it if you guys walk up the creek tomorrow. And so if their olfaction has been affected in these burned watersheds, they won't have like a normal response to these predator skin cues when they're introduced, right? Normally they'd be like, oh my God, here's all this like skin cue, I'm gonna run away from it and stay out of that arm, right? And so and then that would be a normal response. But if they were impacted by the fires, they wouldn't have that normal response. They just kind of like hang out.